Hi, Bianca here. So today what we're going to be doing is talking briefly about how to divide polynomials by long division. So we're going to start off with this example, something pretty basic because you're dividing by a binomial with a coefficient of 1 and an exponent of 1. So if I wanted to divide x squared minus 4x minus 12 by x minus 6, you're going to set it up using the long division method. So you're going to look at the very first term. The very first term here is x, and you want to say, okay, how many times does x go into x squared? Or x times what is x squared? X times x is x squared. You're going to place that up on the top. Now what you're going to do is back multiply. So you're going to multiply what you put on the top by everything else on the outside. So x times x is x squared. You want to line it up directly underneath the same degree term. So we've got x times x is x squared, and x times negative 6, taking the sign with it, is negative 6x. Now after you back multiply, you always subtract the next step. So if you're subtracting this next step here, you're really subtracting the entire polynomial, which in this case has those two terms. I'm going to place that in parentheses so that we don't forget to do so. Now, if you're subtracting a polynomial, remember that's when you have to distribute out the negative. So when you distribute out this negative, the signs are all changing. So this would become a minus, and this would now become a plus, and you're really just going to be adding those polynomials down. So when you add straight down, that first term should go away, right, because we're breaking it down. We've got negative 4x plus 6x, and in that case, we have 2x. So now what you want to do is bring down your next term, whatever comes next, and we have minus 12. And then we start over from the beginning. Okay, so from the beginning, x times what is 2x? X times 2 is 2x. So I'm going to place it up top, and it's a positive 2. And then we're going to back multiply. So we have 2 times x, which is 2x, place it underneath, and then 2 times negative 6, which is negative 12. But remember, you're subtracting that entire polynomial, so in parentheses, and then distribute out that negative. So it's really going to become a positive, you're adding them, and then minus and plus. Remember, signs are changing when you distribute. So we add straight down here. Remember, the first terms should go away, and they do. We've got negative 12 and plus 12, which is 0. So that means we can't go any further, and this binomial of x minus 6, right, goes in evenly into this polynomial, which really tells us that it is a factor, right? There's no remainder here. X minus 6 is a factor of that polynomial. How can you check to see if you've done it correctly since there is no remainder there? If you wanted to double check this, all you would need to do is check your multiplication. So if you take x minus 6, right, the original binomial that you were given there, and multiply it by the x plus 2, what you found, you should get the polynomial that is underneath that little division house. So multiplying or foiling that out, we've got x squared plus 2x minus 6x minus 12. Combining those like terms there, x squared minus 4x minus 12. And that's exactly what was underneath the division house, so we know that we have divided correctly, and we check that using multiplication. All right, let's try another example. All right, so let's start with this division problem. So this time we are dividing that top polynomial by the x plus 1/2. Now remember, we were using the long division method. So what we're going to do to start is set up our division house. So what we're dividing by is going to go on the outside. So we have x plus 1/2. And then underneath here, we're going to put this polynomial. Now, you do want to make sure that all of your exponents, or the degrees of all the exponents, are accounted for. So what I mean by that, we have x cubed. The next one below that would be x squared, then single x, and then x to the 0 power. They're all there. They're all accounted for, so we don't need that, a placeholder. But if they weren't there, let's say one of them was missing, you would need to place a placeholder there. You've got 4x cubed minus 8x squared minus 3x plus 1. And we'll get into the placeholders a little later on. So now let's begin. So we always begin by saying, okay, x times what gives us that first term? And x times 4x squared gives us 4x cubed. So remember, when you're multiplying with polynomials, you're really adding those exponents. So what you want to do now is you're going to take that top piece and you're going to multiply it by everything on the outside and place it underneath. 4x squared times x is 4x cubed. Remember, line up your degrees, make sure everything is aligned. And then 4x squared times a half, or what is half of 4x squared? And half of 4x squared is 2x squared. Now, what we want to do is subtract, right? So we're going to be subtracting that entire polynomial there, remember, the whole thing. And when you do that, your signs are going to change. So you have to make sure that you distribute out those signs. So distributing out that negative, this becomes a minus, and this now becomes a minus, right? And you're really just going to be adding. So sometimes here, if you don't have different colors, you can circle it, whichever will help you realize what sign, meaning positive or negative, you're actually doing right now. And then we're going to add straight down. Now, when you add straight down here, we know that the first terms are going to go away, and we've got a negative 8x squared and a negative 2x squared, which is a negative 10x squared. We then want to go ahead and bring down the next term. So bringing down the negative 3x and then starting over. X times what is negative 10x squared? And that's negative, do it in a different color, negative 10x gives us negative 10x squared. So we're going to go ahead and back multiply at this point. Negative 10x times x is negative 10x squared. And negative 10x times a half, or what's half of negative 10x? And that's negative 5x. And then remember, at this point, we are subtracting everything, the whole polynomial, which means we are distributing out that negative. So this now becomes a positive, and a positive. So you're really adding in this case. So you add straight down. When you add straight down, the first term, remember, goes away. Negative 3x plus 5x is 2x. And then bringing down that last term of plus 1. And then you start over once again. X times what gives us 2x? And that's going to be 2. Plus 2. So multiplying that out, 2 times x is 2x. 2 times 1/2, or half of 2 is 1. So I just put plus 1. And then we're subtracting out that entire thing there. So subtracting that binomial out, distributing out the sign. Remember, they are changing. You're now subtracting there, and then adding straight down. This goes away. This becomes 0. So we have a 0 remainder here. So this binomial goes in evenly into that polynomial. If you wanted to double check your work, all you would need to do is multiply. So you can multiply the x plus 1/2 times the answer that you got, 4x squared minus 10x plus 2. And you can use your distribution method or your box method, whatever you're more comfortable, to double check your work. But we know that it goes in evenly since there was a 0 remainder. Okay, one more example. We'll do one with a placeholder, and then I'll just give you some practice problems to work on your own. All right, so we're going to be working with this problem, and notice it's given in fraction form. Remember, fraction is still division. So we're dividing the top polynomial by the bottom. The bottom is now a trinomial. This is also more challenging, not just because you're dividing by a trinomial in this case, whereas before we were doing binomials. It's also because if you notice in the numerator, you're missing a place value. You're missing the x cubed, okay? So what you want to do is put a placeholder there. So let's set up our division house. So here we've got x squared minus 2x plus 5 on the outside. If you are missing an exponent or a degree on the left or on the outside, you're still going to need a placeholder as well. Here, we've got x to the 4th. We've got 0x cubed minus x squared, which we know is minus 1x squared, plus x, which is really plus 1x. And then minus 4. All right, we start the same way. X squared times what gives us x to the 4th? And we know that that's going to be x squared because remember, when you multiply, you add your exponents. Now let's back multiply. X squared times x squared is x to the 4th. X squared times negative 2x is negative 2x to the 3rd. And x squared times 5x is 5x squared. Now remember, you're subtracting that entire thing there. So in parentheses, subtract that out. And when you subtract, remember, you are distributing out the negative sign. So this becomes positive. This is now a negative. a positive, and a negative. Remember, you can circle it if you need to figure out what sign you're actually doing. The first term should go away. The second one, we've got 0x cubed plus 2x cubed, which is just 2x cubed. Negative x squared and negative 5x squared is negative 6x squared. And now we go ahead and bring down our next term, which is plus x. And then we start over. X squared times what is 2x squared? And we know that that's going to be a plus 2x. And then you want to back multiply. 2x times x squared is 2x cubed. 2x times negative 2x is negative 4x squared. And 2x times 5 is 10x. We then want to go ahead and subtract that entire polynomial out, which remember you are then distributing out that negative sign. Positive, negative, positive, negative, okay? And then you're going to add straight down. We know that this goes away. We've got negative 6x squared plus 4x squared, which is negative 2x squared. We have x minus 10x, which is negative 9x. And then bringing down your very last term there, which is that negative 4, and then start over. X squared times what is negative 2x squared, and that's just negative 2. And then back multiply. Negative 2x squared. Negative 2 times negative 2x is a positive 4x. And then negative 2 times 5 is negative 10. And remember, you're subtracting that entire polynomial, distributing out the negative, so your signs are all changing here, and then adding straight down. First term goes away, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, so you have negative 13x plus 6. X squared times what gives us negative 13x. And remember, when you're multiplying, you're adding your exponents, but 2 plus what is going to give us 1, right? So that gets a little confusing. So you notice in this case, you cannot actually go any further. Once you have a lesser exponent here than what you were dividing by, you're done dividing. You can't go any further, so this is called our remainder. So the way you want to represent it is as a fraction. So you would say, okay, plus whatever you have here, negative 13x plus 6, all over the original divisor, so what you were dividing by, which is x squared minus 2x plus 5. It might be a little hard to see up there, so I'm going to rewrite your final answer just right here so that you can see. So your final answer here, when you divide x to the 4th plus 0x cubed minus x squared plus x minus 4 by x squared minus 2x plus 5, you get x squared plus 2x minus 2 plus the remainder of a negative 13x plus 6 all over x squared minus 2x plus 5, okay? And that's long division in a nutshell, all right? So I'll give you some practice problems today for you to work on, and then we'll move on with synthetic division tomorrow, okay? Bye.